This is example 2 for the quadratics worksheet. And part A, write the revenue function in terms of the price. So the demand function is already in terms of the price. P is the input. That's what that phrase means. And as you can see, the revenue is always the price times the quantity. Another way of phrasing that is whatever the input of the demand function, that's going to be the demand function times that input variable. So it's not always Q equals P. It could be P equals Q. Anyways, so there you see the revenue, price times the quantity. The quantity is the expression we were given. Distribute, it's a quadratic. And then part B, price is $2.12. What's the revenue to the penny? So the reason for that is the units, price is dollars, Q is in thousands. So when we look at Excel, part B, price of $2.12, there's the demand function, and you can see my revenue. I just multiplied the cells. I didn't actually type the revenue function. And that is in thousands, so I multiplied by 1,000 here to get it to the nearest penny. There we go. And part C, we're looking at maximum revenue. So just like the previous example, we've not learned the calculus for this, so we're using the algebra. There's our generic quadratic. And there's the formula. So the input value is negative b over 2a, based on those letters there. Our input is the price in this case. So there's the revenue function, there's my A, B, C doesn't matter. There's the formula, so price $37.50. The maximum revenue, plug that into the equation and evaluate it to get that. And go back to Excel to show all that stuff. So there's my A, B, C there. There's my formula. Notice the denominator when I typed it in has parentheses. Be careful about that. My revenue, my demand function. And then revenue again, or just those two cells multiplied, and then another cell to multiply by 1,000 to get it to the nearest penny. And you can see when I do all of this, I've got the price, the quantity, and the revenue all at one time. And there's my show your work for everything. Typed out, wrote out the quantity, show your work right there. Get the units. Part D, marginal profit is, marginal cost is this, and fixed cost is that. So there's my cost equation. Notice that's per unit, per 1,000 unit, $5.50. So it's in terms of Q. In order to find the profit function, the variable has to be the same, P. So I have to change my cost function to be in terms of the price. So Q is the demand function. I just plug it in there. Distribute, combine like terms. So there's my cost function. And then profit, revenue minus cost. There you go. Distribute it, another quadratic. I define the variables over on the right. I always do that. P is the price. C and capital P are the cost and profit in thousands of dollars. Part E is we're looking for break even. And it used to say points, and I don't like that because the profit is always zero the way I figure it out. So we're mostly just looking for prices unless it explicitly says other things. So break even means set it equal to 0. That's a goal seek question. You can see my show your work, my input value 0. Find P is this. I did a second one, goal seek, input value of 500 to find a completely different answer. And I'll come back to the explanation. Let's look at Excel for that. And I'll walk through goal seek yet again. So remember, the input value is the number that's in the cell you start with. And you can see my formulas. There's my demand function. My revenue are the two things multiplied. My cost function I typed in. My profit function, just revenue minus cost. So the formula cell is for the profit function up to the data tab. What if, goal seek. The to value for break even is 0. The changing cell is the original input cell, which is the price. And click OK. And there we go. And I did it again for the 500. It's always a good idea to do goal seek multiple times with a small value and a larger value. I also expanded the table to answer the next part of the explain so that I can see starting at 0 and going up to the 1139, I have a negative profit, and then it gets to 0. That E is scientific notation. That's a negative, so that's negative 4.6 times 10 to the negative 5. And you can see the next one. So in between the 11 and the 69 is 25. It shows a positive profit. And then at 69 is another break-even point. And then greater than 69, we're back to negative. So let's look at the explain what that means. So charging between 0 and 1139 or over the $69 amount, you lose money. Charging either of those amounts is the break even, there's no profit, and then charging between those amounts results in positive. And that's not always the case. That's why I did the table of values so that I could see less than is negative, greater than is also negative, and in between is positive. So don't always assume a pattern. The last example, F. What is the maximum profit, price, and quantity? And again, we don't have calculus, so we're doing the same algebraic formula with the profit function. So I'll go back to Excel to show that. There's the formula for P, parentheses in the denominator, formula for demand, revenue, the two cells multiplied, the cost function typed in, the profit function, revenue minus cost, multiplied by 1,000 to get the amount there. And you can see my show your work for those things. Maximum profit is this, occurs when the price is that, selling that. So the maximum revenue to the penny, part C, the question did not, it did. Both of these asked for the price, the quantity, and the maximum value. So anyway, sometimes they don't ask for everything, so you might not need to answer all of that. And again, the units for units were 1,000. So there you can see I spelled that out there.